Hey, happy New Year, everyone. I think I can still say that. It's just January 3rd.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you definitely can say. I think you can say it until the college football playoff championship game happens. Like
oh,
that's the end of
that's
the
like
New
the
Year's.
cutoff.
Yeah, as long as
Okay.
there's bowl games happening, it's New Year's.
Well, welcome to LP In Depth. I'm Rebecca Mosley, co-founder here at laughingplace.com, and with me is our CEO, Benji Breitbart. And today we are going to, he always shakes his head because he doesn't like the title we've given him. But see, I co-founded the site, so I get to do that. And today we're going to discuss the 2021 of the projects that are coming to us from the Disney Studios. I'm super excited because I'm not as well versed in some of the titles that I see on our kind of roll sheet here. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and learn a bit more about what's coming, Ben.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I want to. This is totally wonky and totally like super business in the weeds, but we didn't say the Walt Disney Studios because the Walt Disney Studios doesn't exist. Now there's Disney Studios Content. That's the name of that group that makes stuff. And I didn't call it from Disney Studios Content because that's even a little too corporate for me. But we're going to talk about series. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about stuff coming to theaters, theoretically, stuff coming to Disney Plus. Obviously, this is the plan. Go with it. We'll watch the show in like at the end of next year and be like, remember we thought that was coming out. But we're gonna go through 21 projects. So now it used to be like when we would go through this at the end of the year, we could do every project because there was like 12. We picked 21 of a list that includes a significant more than 21. I went through and like I figured the ones where I knew something about it, but I'm like, there's still more to come. So if we don't cover it, it's nothing weird. It might be that we just don't have enough information, or I don't have enough to say about it. So don't get offended if you're everybody's talking about Jamie fan and we didn't cover it. I also didn't include WandaVision because that's like coming any day now, and we'll do our own show on that next week. So should we start with the first one that we're going to talk about coming out February 19th, 2021. Probably don't need to see that because everything's coming out in 2021. This is Flora and Ulysses. There's Flora, that's the girl. Ulysses is the squirrel. She's a 10-year-old girl whose parents are splitting up. She has a vivid imagination, big comic book fan, and she rescues the squirrel and discovers that he has superpowers.
The book itself is a very fascinating book in that it's part like traditional novel and part graphic novel. And so it kind of weaves this story of this highly imaginative girl through this unique writing mechanism, not choosing neither to be one nor the other. So I'm excited to see how that kind of hyper imagination is realized within the show itself.
Now this image you have is basically all we've seen. For the Disney Plus stuff, they haven't been doing a lot of long form trailers, a lot of stuff leading up to it. So we don't have a trailer. We don't have a lot. They showed some of it at the Investor Day to those that had like the unrestricted stream. But this is really the last of the original singles and doubles when they talked about Disney Plus coming out about, Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made, Noelle, those sort of smaller scale films that Disney Plus was supposed to revive. Not saying they're not making more, but with the additional investment they talked about, where some really big titles are going to be coming to Disney Plus, I'm curious to see if more of these films will also happen as well.
Oh, and by the way, we are live. So if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to share it. And just like the one from Juby, who is sharing, Timmy Failure was a lot of fun. So glad they have an outlet for movies like this. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these upcoming Disney Studios projects.
So I'm excited. I'm just excited to have this kind of movie. I mean, just like Doobie, we're going to talk about a lot of big movies, and this is definitely the smallest one we're going to talk about. But it's sometimes, especially with Disney Plus, I mean, we've seen the success they had with Godmothered and Noelle over the holiday season. In February this year, over kind of near President's Day, I think we're all going to want to kind of get together for hopefully one last housebound hurrah, and it'll be nice to have a movie like this. I don't know much about it once again, but it is directed by the same guy who did Wild Hogs, so but we'll see.
Hey, stick around, Justin. We'll be talking about Black Widow in a little while.
So next
you have Raya, right? Or Raya?
Raya.
I always do that, Raya.
We're gonna run the trailer so that I have time to collect my thoughts.
Tuk, focus. Give me some shell. I gotcha. Life, I trained to become a guardian of the Dragon Gem. But this world has changed. And its people are divided. Now, to restore peace, I must find the last dragon. My name is Raya. Tuk. You're getting a little too big for this, bud.
I like how the dragon makes an appearance at the end of the trailer, kind of switching through. There he is, or she is. So this is actually the first Premiere Access film we're going to talk about. So it's going to be released theatrically March 5th, and then it will also be available for $30-ish on Disney Plus, same day and date. But so for those that live in places where theaters won't be open yet, you'll have a chance to kind of still see the movie, similar to what Wonder Woman did, except with Wonder Woman, it was part of your HBO Max subscription. They're still going to charge you like Mulan, but it is you can see it either in theaters or at home. And that seems to be their strategy for COVID. When they still want to release things theatrically, but when theaters might not be open. So I think they're going to go, as we go through this, one by one, they'll address whether it should be on Premiere Access. And that's sort of their theaters aren't open strategy by still getting things out. We talked in the past about how Pixar and Disney Animation, they're employees, so they're working regardless. It's not like a movie where you hire them for a film. So you really can't back up too much because they still got to work because you're still paying them, unless you God forbid you furlough them. So they that's why you're seeing Soul and Raya. I think they would love the sort of franchise building that you get from a traditional theatrical release, but just not in the cards for these two films.
Did they mention during the investors or recently details on the pricing for these events?
Yeah, so at least for Raya, it's going to be $29.99, which is the same price as Mulan. It's Mulan, and I'm presuming the same way here, is you kind of had to wait for it to come out. You couldn't pre-order it, which was a little frustrating. Pro tip, though, if you buy it for Premiere Access, you still get Disney Movie Insiders points. So forward your receipt to those folks, so you get your 300 points.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good to know. Yeah. I also wanted to remind people that if you're looking forward to any of the films that we're talking about, be sure to check out Laughing Place. We have a unique guide or tag for these films, and as new articles or news comes out about them, we update the guide so you can see kind of the journey of the project, but as it makes its way eventually to theaters or screens.
And especially interesting with animation movies because they go through so many changes, casting changes, story changes, director changes. So it's interesting to see when the movie first gets whispered about to when it actually hits theaters, the journey. Not that that's normal. That's not a bad thing. But are you excited for Raya?
I'm very excited. The enormous pill bug. I don't know what its actual legitimate name is, but I call it a pill bug. I can't wait to see how and why she has this enormous pill bug, and it's quite adorable. I'm looking forward to T-shirts that say "hit me with some shell" or "give me some shell." I think is what she said. The score, the little part that they played just then, the music, that was I like the energy of the music.
So next, we're going to get our first 20th Century Studios film in quite some time. It is The Kingsman.
My flock. This will not be a war of heroes. Nations will slaughter each other while we get rich. This is going to be fun.
You cannot keep me locked away as the world burns.
Son, the truth is the world is ruled by corruption and greed.
We must do something.
Certainly.
We are the first independent intelligence agency. Refined but brutal. Civilized but merciless.
Welcome to the club.
Very clever.
It's time to pour fuel on the fire of revolution.
Yes, my shepherd. Welcome, Englishman.
Rasputin, your reputation precedes you.
Let's end this as gentlemen. After all, manners maketh man.
Why is it that boys are always so messy?
So obviously pay no attention to the release date on the trailer. But, I haven't seen any of the Kingsman movies because they were 20th Century Fox and that wasn't Disney at the time. But this is an important movie in terms of establishing a franchise for 20th Century Studios. I don't know if you've heard, Disney loves franchises. So they're trying to mine the ones that they can find within 20th Century Studios, such as Alien coming to FX and whatnot. The first one was considered good. Second one, not so much. This is a prequel, so I don't know if it's good or not. I might try and catch up. One thing that's interesting about this is it is an R-rated franchise, which typically Disney's franchise films have been PG-13. So it does give it a variation of, compared to just like a straight Marvel movie. Ironically, this movie is based off a comic book, which was published by Marvel, but as a creator owned. So it's not owned by Marvel. They just published it. I don't really have a lot to say about this one, except good luck with the franchising. There was an article recently talking about how they're going to make like 18 million of these movies. So we'll see if that actually happens.
So this is like part of the, let's throw a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying is when the folks at 20th Century know Bob Chapek loves franchises, so they're going to try and find now this movie was in production before the acquisition, but if they can turn this into their James Bond, not that that's what this is, but their own sort of adult action franchise, I think Disney would be pleased. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the merchandise potential or whatever, but if 20th Century Studios can release one of these every couple of years and have a consistent performer, they'd be thrilled.
Oh, okay.
So next, it's about time. I know in next week or in 2 weeks, we're going to get WandaVision, but this was supposed to be the first Marvel Studios or Disney Plus original series.
The legacy of that shield is complicated.
The world is upside down. People need something to get behind. They need the symbol. So what's our plan? So no plan. Great.
What's going on in that cyborg brain of yours?
You don't want to know.
Oh, yeah, I can see it working. Gears turning. Oh, they're malfunctioning. They're on fire.
God, I hate you.
So Falcon and Winter Soldier, I cannot be more excited. March 19th, 2021, about dang time, coming just weeks after WandaVision. We don't know exactly when WandaVision will end, but a back-to-back punch. So I cannot wait.
I'm excited. I'm not as pumped as my team here at Laughing Place is. I am the less Marvel inclined, but the humor, I enjoy a good buddy film. I like those kinds of films where you've got the good guys working together, but kind of ribbing each other and having some fun along the way, as well as the really cool aerial stuff that will happen with Falcon. The sequences of him traveling through that canyon against the helicopter, that's some fun stuff. I mean, I liked Airwolf when I was young, so it's okay. It's all good.
Well, you might not be Marvel inclined, but we got more coming.
I know. So much Marvel.
Once again, pay no attention.
I tell people my sister moved out west. You're a science teacher. Your husband, he renovates houses? You're thinking about moving, but you're gonna wait until the interest rates go down.
That's not my story. Before I was an Avenger, I made mistakes. And a lot of enemies.
His call sign's Taskmaster. He controls the Red Room. They're manipulated, fully conscious, but no choices.
I should have come back for you.
How many others are there? Enough.
We have to go back to where it all started. So they never do that to anyone again.
We're a family. We fight with you.
You won't win.
I've always found it best not to look into the past.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
At some point, we all have to choose between what the world wants you to be and who you are. I made my choice. I'm done running. Here's what's gonna happen.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
You're going to get a back hunch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my God, this...
Up.
All
Listen.
right, enough. All of you.
I didn't say anything. That's not fair.
So, as you can see, it didn't come out May 1st, 2020. Didn't come out at the numerous other release dates. This was supposed to be the start of Phase 4. Kind of got pumped into, looks like, third position. But I don't know what to say. Just, it's hard to, I was talking to someone at the studios and I was like, it's hard to get hyped again for these movies because I was so hyped. And then it didn't happen. Like the Hasbro toys came out. I was excited. And then it's been a year, but I'm sure once we get a little closer, and through WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, I can't wait. Obviously, this will tie into a lot of different Marvel projects, including Hawkeye. So just open, I guess, how I feel about him.
Yep. Summer can't come fast enough, right?
That is true. And it'll be interesting to see if they hold tight to the release date and if theaters aren't open, let's hope they are, that if they'll do premiere access for this as well.
Yeah, that's what's going to be very interesting to see with all of these titles is kind of how things will play out over the next few months and where will things end up appearing. For now, this is theatrical.
Yeah, and it'll probably stay theatrical. They just might supplement it. I don't think they're going to take it away from theaters like they did with Soul. Just for a myriad of reasons.
I'm scared to say anything like that. So I'm not even like putting it out there into the universe. So,
yeah, I mean, let's be honest. None of us have any idea, but
right? It's a look back. It's like her family that she left behind to join the Avengers now needs her. Am I correct? This is my understanding of the time frame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say join the Avengers, but when she sort of defected, to join SHIELD, these are the folks. This is her family, her other family. She had the Avengers, and this is her pre-Avengers family. And we don't know exactly. I mean, obviously, this takes place before the main Marvel universe, at least partly based on the trailer. But there is some talk that maybe some part will also be take place afterwards, especially with her sister playing a role in Hawkeye.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so next we got this movie, our second movie from 20th Century Studios, also been delayed several times, is Free Guy.
Good morning, Goldie. My name is Guy, and I live in Free City. I have everything I need. Except one thing.
Hey! Excuse me. Hey!
Hey, bud, you ever think that there's got to be more?
More than what?
The stuff we do day after day.
Literally not once.
Today's gonna be different, Goldie. What are we looking at?
Who are you?
We ran into each other the other day.
How did you find me?
I waited outside by the murder train.
Guy, I have to tell you something. There is no easy way to say this. This world, it's a video game.
I really want to kiss you. Is that weird?
Listen to me. You're not real.
Wait, you let who kiss you?
Guy.
There's not a button for that.
Oh, he found the button.
Buddy, if we're not real, doesn't that mean that nothing you do matters?
I am sitting here with my best friend trying to help him get through a tough time. Now, if that's not real, I don't know what is.
Millie, I know this world is just a game, but this place, these people, that's all I have.
Thanks, guy.
Who is this guy?
This character in the video game Free City has been turning heads by being the good guy.
Who is blue shirt guy?
You're absolutely right. Who is he or she, indeed?
This loser is ruining the game, man.
I don't care if he's Arnold frickin' Schwarzenegger. Terminate him.
We're doing great.
Guy, in 2 days, the game is gonna shut down. You, this whole city, they'll be gone.
What if we can save it?
Was that cool? It felt really cool. We can change our world, but we have to fight together. I don't even know what's happening right now, but I love it! This is the first time I've ever driven a car before.
I really wish you'd mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love you, blue shirt guy!
Thank you! Watch out for the... They seem nice.
This was a trailer that I saw in movie theaters. With the last film that I saw in theaters before all of this, and I remember enjoying it at the time and waiting for it to, being like, oh, I'm excited for that one to come. It feels to me in some ways like I don't know, like an opposite Tron. So
I do love it when in trailers they say from the studio that brought you. Like that means anything. Like
right.
From the studio that brought you Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs comes Free Guy. Like whatever. But obviously Disney wants to be in the Ryan Reynolds business. He's found great success against all odds with Deadpool. They also aired his game show Don't on ABC. So I think this is one of those movies. It could go either way. It could be a hit, or it could be, a little too video gamey for mainstream audiences. But I think Ryan Reynolds has proven that he can kind of sell a movie. He's one of the few stars that I think still can. And I mean, the humor is universal. It doesn't take a lot of genius to figure out what's going on here. So I'm looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it a year ago, and to still.
Yep, me too. And it's not Marvel, which I like Marvel, but it's not.
This movie isn't Marvel either. This is Cruella. So Free Guy comes out May 21st. Cruella comes out May 28th. It's got dogs. It's got Cruella. I'm not sure if those are supposed to be Horace and Jasper, but we'll go with it. And it's directed by Craig Gillespie, who's done some Disney work, but probably is most critically known for I, Tonya. They did show a bit at the Investor Day, but they've yet to release a trailer. But it's described as Cruella's origin story about her early days. I don't know if she starts good and becomes bad, or is this sort of always bad, but you find out how she becomes famous. Emma Stone is virtually unrecognizable here, as far as I can tell. And fun fact, if you look closely, you can see a non-Dalmatian right next to it.
It's all about the dogs for you when it comes to.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because that's offensive. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, honestly, my enjoyment of this movie is going to be directly related to how mean she is to the dogs. If she's too mean, I will hate it. If she's just villainy enough, then I might be able to tolerate it.
I feel like they're going to play up the obsession with the Dalmatian as being an obsession with the black and white juxtaposition. And so you're going to see kind of a fanatical dedication to the black and whiteness of it. And so move away from the notion of Cruella as someone who is trying to gather them for pelts, as we saw in the animated movie, kind of move away from that idea. So.
Yeah. I mean, and it takes place during the the 70s UK punk scene, like all movies should. So we don't have a trailer yet. We did see a bit that looked really interesting once again at the Investor Day, but until they do a public trailer, I don't really want to get too into my thoughts. But considering it comes out in just about 5 months, theoretically, once again theatrically, we should start to hear some things soon.
And this is one of those where I think the soundtrack could play a fun part in the film as well. And so I'm interested to see kind of where they end up going with that. It's time for more Marvel.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show this clip, and at the end, I want you to tell me if you immediately recognize the guy talking to Tom Hiddleston, or if it took you some time.
Get your hands off.
You're taking me somewhere to kill me.
No, I'm taking you someplace to talk.
Well, I don't like to talk.
But you do like to lie, which you just did. Because we both know you love to talk. Talky.
How long have you been here?
I don't know, it's hard to say. Time passes differently here in the TVA.
What does that mean?
You'll catch up.
Glorious. Better be ready.
Come on. What did you expect?
Well, it appears that everybody recognized who it was right away. Even Doobie, who is historically known for being not terribly quick at times with his recognition of people. So
understatement of the year. So just to set this up, look, if you saw Avengers Endgame, they messed up with time in order to save the day. But Loki was able to grab the Tesseract and disappear. And so this is not the reformed Loki you saw in kind of evolved through Thor 2, Thor 3, and Infinity War. This is Loki right after the events of Avengers Prime, or whatever you want to call it. The Marvel's The Avengers. So probably a little bit more villainous. He's got his campaign button here. I guess if you're trying to want to vote for Loki, there's some great comic stories that they might be pulling from, and so the trailer makes it seem a little darker than I probably would have initially thought of, like a crazy Loki series, but it's definitely visually striking. And so this comes in May, so you get WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, then Loki. There will be nothing better for the company this year than Loki. I have spoken. Way to mix your franchises there, Nick.
That's all Disney.
Yeah,
the excitement level for this seems to be off the charts from people who I expect to be more discerning. And so I am very excited to see kind of what the reaction is once it actually gets here, because like I say, the anticipation has been palpable among those that I know who have adored this character. They're very excited about what will happen during this series.
Yeah, and obviously these things were originally going to be spaced out a little bit more. Life happens. I just hope these things don't get lost in the shuffle. Mandalorian season 2 kept the momentum going, but they had a full year before it returned. And I'm excited because for me, content, but you don't want it to kind of start to trail off because people, it's just TV. That's what people drop off all the time. But I think, it looks good. If it is good, it could be, all these shows could really be a big deal because, Disney Plus, just due to everything, had to kind of rely on the strength of The Mandalorian, in terms of big marquee products. So this year we're getting a little bit more diversity with Marvel added into that run.
I'm excited by the notion that both with this and with WandaVision, that they're fully embracing the idea of the comic book kind of sandbox notion. Just because maybe initially we met Loki in this one time frame doesn't mean that's where he always has to be. We can for whatever reasons that we concoct within this comic book universe, we can throw him into it. You see him in a desert, seemingly, maybe like the Gobi. To me, it looked like a Gobi desert type scenario, and then later you see him, completely different environment. So who knows? We'll see.
Well, and I think Disney Plus, just the format plus new technologies like the volume, allow them to tell big storytelling in a serial format, which is the way comics are really designed to be told. I mean, if you talk to anyone in my generation, they got into Marvel through through cartoons like the X-Men, which was a serialized cartoon essentially. And when you watch a Marvel movie, those are the big moments, but there's so much happening in the middle there that we never get to hear. And it's not like Star Wars where there's books and comic books that kind of fill in the gaps for you. So I'm hoping we get to flesh out the multiverse, as we now know exists, a little bit more with all these extra projects, but still keep those big, moments for the big screen.
But it's going to be interesting because in some ways you're re-educating your visual entertainment audience because they aren't as used to, this is, well, I mean, we're about to have it with the kind of the Captain America scenario where you're going to have, he's not going to look like he did in Avengers necessarily, right? So
and I think they're smart to make that the story. Like, who is the next Captain America is really the whole point of that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is it the question of is it an office or is it a person is very much a question that the show will try and address.
Yeah, I'm just excited in general because some of my favorite comic books over the years have been ones that have explored kind of those multiverse options. I think it was a Wonder Woman comic book from, I want to say it was an anniversary one, like the 200th or something like that, and it took like various paths. In one path, she ended up married to Superman, and you saw how challenging that would be, and just different stuff like that. So I'm very excited to see this becoming more a part of TV with Loki, and it seems with WandaVision too, we're going to have kind of this transition, element as well.
Most definitely, I think this Doctor Strange and the new Spider-Man movie will definitely open up that how we think of reality in the MCU, and let's just hope that in all realities, it's better than Wonder Woman 1984. Next from Pixar, Luca, June 18th, 2021. Once again, no trailer yet, but these may look like boys, but they're not boys. They're mysterious sea monsters from the sea. This is from the director of La Luna. Definitely has that kind of aesthetic. He's Italian, so makes sense that he's making a movie with gelato, as you can see in this. I think this is one of another string of original Pixar movies, not a sequel. New director, at least in terms of features. So, I think we just had Soul, so we're still trying to process that film. But with Onward, Soul, and Luca, I think they're showing that they're able to make new brands and new franchises. But I hope that this movie doesn't have the sort of theatrical challenges that the other two did. So we'll see. After that, more Marvel with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So you may remember in Iron Man 1, the beginning of the MCU, the Ten Rings abduct Tony Stark and set him on the path, which essentially founded the MCU as we knew it. Obviously stuff happened before, but we didn't know that at the time. And but then in Iron Man 3, we find out the Ten Rings is just a joke, a creation of AIM. But then in one of those shorts, those Marvel one-shots I used to put on DVDs, you reveal that was not the real Ten Rings, that there is a real Mandalorian, Mandarin, and a real Ten Rings organization. So this is going to go straight into that mythology and maybe tie up those loose ends for those that might have been disappointed that the Ten Rings in Iron Man ended up not being what they thought it was going to be. GB.
Right? I know. I was going to say, you're pretty much describing what my husband had to say about that. So, and before you move on, just once again to remind people at Laughing Place, we've established for these films a guide for each one. And so if there's one of these titles that we mentioned that you're particularly excited about, be sure and tag the guide. And as we have new updates and information, you'll be, right there with what's going on regarding these films. For example, we shared the Instagram photo when they finished wrapping on the film. Things like that. You'll find them here. The trailer, new posters, all that.
No trailer.
Well, not yet, but I mean, when it comes, I'm saying when it comes, it'll be linked off of here as well, so you can.
But if you want to see a trailer for the upcoming Shang-Chi series, you can do that on Marketplace. Next, we got Jungle Cruise, and that one we do have a trailer because this is supposed to come out already.
This one is the one that's really weird because it was everyone was so pumped. You had that appearance by The Rock and all that, and then not yet.
So what are you doing out here?
There is a legend in the jungles of the Amazon of a tree that heals all. It could change the world, but if it gets into the wrong hands, it could awaken a great evil. I believe that the legend is real.
Which it's not.
And I'm going to find it.
Which you won't.
And when I do, just imagine the lives that could be saved.
I've been looking for this tree longer than anybody. I've tracked the legend to every village, every island. Nothing. You're searching for something that can't be found.
But you've never had the key.
Let's do something that's safe. Let's go see some elephants.
There are no elephants in the Amazon, and I don't even like elephants.
Lady, everybody likes elephants. Know this about the jungle. Everything that you see wants to kill you, and can. Careful. They can smell fear.
I am not afraid. Oh my gosh.
Who brings a submarine to the Amazon?
Fire! Back, 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 back!
Good night.
I got you.
Frank, get it.
Hold on.
Come on.
I got it.
Frank.
I don't got it.
No. For goodness sake, just leave me alone. That was a disaster.
Didn't go the way I planned.
I gotta admit, I'm with Jeffrey on this one. All that summer promotion that came out, kind of wish this one went to premiere. So, you know.
Yeah, I think they're trying to figure out if this is a franchise film or not. Obviously, The Rock is a big deal, but obviously, if he's not going to save a bad movie, not saying this is a bad movie by any stretch, but if this could be the next Pirates of the Caribbean, sort of like an Indiana Jones kind of franchise, I'm sure they would love that, and that might be the reason they're willing to hold up. Also, I think out of respect of The Rock, and I think they might want to give it the shot to be theatrical, to keep their relationship strong with him.
Can I say that in the distance there, it looks like George made his way. It made his way from Cabot Cove.
That's a very interesting. Poor guy's just sitting there trying to catch some fish.
Doesn't it just look like George? Look out, George! Sorry. Flashback to Universal Studios tours. Oh, and another thing that hit me.
There's Andrew Lansbury.
Another thing that hit me during the trailer is like, I wonder if that there's like this giant like treehousey looking thing, right? And I immediately started thinking, hey, there's a treehouse near a Jungle Cruise in Florida. If this thing really takes off.
And California.
Oh, well, is it? It's close. I don't feel like. Yeah, I guess it's pretty close. But... It's so tight to the Jungle Cruise there at Walt Disney World, but it just kind of struck me. It hadn't previously. Wow, I can't believe this movie still isn't out. There's like been merchandise,
right?
Everything.
I'm excited for it, but I was excited. It's like, how long am I supposed to hold my excitement? But
Mike Celestino got a hat that they were selling at Adventureland and everything.
I have the board game someplace.
Oh yeah, the board game. Yep. Oh well. Get back.
So I'm not a Beatles fan. I'm not anti-Beatles. I'm just not. I grew up with the Sherman Brothers and Buddy Baker style music, but the clip that they showed of the Beatles Get Back, which is from Peter Jackson, on Disney Plus, they have like a 5-minute sneak peek. Really got me interested, and I guess this takes place towards the end of the Beatles, as they were recording to make a film to promote their first live concert in a couple of years, which was, ended up not, I guess, going the way they wanted it to, and whatever. But I don't know the whole story. There's plenty of people out there who know it a lot better than I do. But this screams Bob Iger vanity project, which he's not one to do that kind of thing typically, but he loves the Beatles. But also, this is theatrical, but it could also be one of those things that people really like on Disney Plus too.
One of the things I love about Laughing Place is how we always, before Disney became this enormous conglomerate, of like all these different, Fox, and they, kind of brought in all these different brands. We always were finding ways to report on stuff. So, for example, if a story about Ringo would have come out, we would have been like, oh, and just in case you were wondering, the Beatles officially broke up at Walt Disney World, and so it's one of those things. But now you've got, Ringo Starr. I feel like so many people, it'll be like, oh, isn't that the guy from Thomas and the Tank Engine? That guy looks like the conductor. Okay.
Every time I went on a submarine voyage, that yellow submarine did go through my head.
Okay. Ringo Starr was actually my first pop concert. That was like one of my.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
August 27th, 2021.
Yeah.
Next, Disney Plus series What If, which is coming in that very specific summer time period. And I can't tell this as well as this trailer is going to do it. So here we go.
Space. Time. Reality. It's more than a linear path. It's a prism of endless possibility.
Well, that doesn't sound ominous at all.
I was promised an army.
You have a super soldier.
Cool. You sure don't seem too freaked out about all this, kid. What you doing out there all by yourself anyway?
Exploring the world.
Sounds fun. But why stop at one world when we can show you all of them?
I am the Watcher. I am your guide through these vast new realities. Follow me and dare to face the unknown. And ponder the question. What if?
Give me the tour.
So, What If, based off the comic book from time gone by, where they would just ask a question, as you saw here. What if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? What if Yondu kidnapped T'Challa instead of Peter Quill? What if zombie Captain America happened? Uatu, who watches all these realities, voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who you've seen in something, perhaps best known at this point, besides like the alcohol commercials for Westworld. But he was in the James Bond movies and other things as well. And it's the final MCU performance of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Many of the original voice casts are returning, or not voice cast, the original cast are returning as voice cast in this. So you get to, Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr., Steve Rogers is Chris Evans, and so on and so forth. So I don't know that this is going to really. I can't tell. I'm kind of torn if they're going to use this as a window to do like a whole real reality bending thing, or if this is just going to be the Watcher telling these stories, and this is going to be its own little what if world. But we've talked before about how every Marvel universe has a number, and so you're going to get a lot of different numbers because every what if story is its own little universe. But I think it's a great summer project to get you through your Marvel needs.
I'm excited. I'm excited by this one more than most of the Marvel stuff. Like I say, I'm legendary in my lack of passion for it. But this grabbed me, and I'm very excited for this. In the same way, Guardians was the other Marvel project that grabbed my attention immediately. So yeah, woohoo! It's a Marvel that I can like go and talk on Marvel time and be excited about.
Next from 20th Century Studios is Death on the Nile.
The romance of the desert has the power to seduce. I ask you, have you ever loved so much? Been so possessed by jealousy that you might kill. You had something to hide. The crime is murder. Should have hidden it, shouldn't you? The murderer is one of you.
I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe with any of them.
It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequences. I have investigated many crimes, but this has altered the shape of my soul. I am Detective Hercule Poirot, and I will deliver your killer. How many great stories are tragedies?
So the spiritual successor for Orient and the Murder on the Orient Express from Agatha Christie, and once again, 20th Century trying to find a franchise. It can be worse franchise building than Agatha Christie mysteries. Although
I thought Kenneth Branagh did a magnificent job in Murder on the Orient Express. I loved his take on Poirot, and I loved the film itself. So I was very, very excited when I knew that this was coming, and now because of what we do, Laughing Place would be talking about it, so I'd get a chance to dive a bit more into this film when it arrives. Because yeah, like I say, adored Murder on the Orient Express.
You know, and this isn't the first adaptation of any Agatha Christie story, but it's able, you know, as a sort of a big budget modern film, it's able to really get the scope that, you know, previous adaptations might not. Actually filming in, you know, on the Nile is, you know, if you saw Murder on the Orient Express, they didn't cram it with special effects. They didn't, you know, juice it up and make it an action film, but they were able to really use great costumes, great set pieces, and tell a classic story. You know, it's one of those movies where you have to be careful. Like, I always thought everyone knew the ending to Murder on the Orient Express. I didn't think that was a spoiler, but be careful because there's people that went into Titanic not knowing what was going to happen. So,
I was not as familiar with. It was one of those things where I feel like it'd been long enough that it wasn't until like 3/4 of the way through the film kind of thing that I began to kind of click as to the plot points for Murder on the Orient. And I feel like Death on the Nile is similar for me. It's an Agatha Christie story that I'm not as familiar with, as well versed in. Like 10 Little Indians, I've seen like kind of every which way they've produced that one, and so I'm excited for the arrival of Death on the Nile.
Going back to Marvel, because why not? Eternals, which is a new super team, which goes back to sort of the beginning of sort of the universe, where the world's oldest enemy of mankind, the deviants, have to be faced by these Eternals. Gets real Jack Kirby, real sort of cosmic, at least in the comic books. We don't know anything about this movie outside of the cast, so it's not Inhumans, but it's and we've heard of Celestials, we've heard of these big sort of cosmic entities, but I think this is really going to go head on into it and really take the Marvel Cinematic Universe into a different place. This isn't the Avengers; it's a team, but just like Guardians of the Galaxy weren't the Avengers, this is a different team, almost more like a family.
It's coming.
Then we have that's November 5th, November 24th in Encanto, which is from the Zootopia folks who are partnering with Lin-Manuel Miranda. It tells the tale of a magical village where everyone has magical powers except one girl, but it turns out her faith might be what the community needs. So once again, don't know a lot. We got a little audio glimpse of the film during the Investor Day, but this, if I'm not mistaken, will be the next. Well, after Raya will be the next. So there'll be 2 Disney animated movies next year, both trying to be a little bit different, and we'll see.
The visuals on this were stunning. The colors. I love the story that we've got so far, and then Lin-Manuel Miranda sharing a bit of the journey that he's been on, because as he's restated in several interviews I've seen in entertainment publications, he was brought into Moana rather late in its development, whereas with this film Encanto, he was kind of there in its earliest days, and so in that way, I suspect that the songwriter musician will have a bit more of a fingerprint on kind of the story and its mood in a bigger sense than Moana.
Yeah, I think almost more of like a Howard Ashman type role as opposed to a Elton John type role. If you want to go back to the Renaissance, this is obviously the animation directors have will play a major part too, but this is one where they're going to really collaborate and not just say, "Oh, here's a great place for a song." A more modern version would be like a Frozen, I think, with the Lopez family.
So I'm excited to see how that is realized. And next we have West Side Story coming in December
from Steven Spielberg. Is that
Spielberg? I think I've heard of him.
So I gotta say, someone who works at the Walt Disney Studios that we partner with, this is her most anticipated movie of next year.
Aww.
So West Side Story has been done.
I was going to say, do you have an affinity? Do you have an affinity for West Side Story? I do not have a particular. I don't dislike it, but I don't have a particular. It's not one of those where it's coming back. I need to go, see the latest revival of it or anything like that.
I really like the music and I really like the choreography, but to me, a lot of it hasn't left for me to miss it. I saw, and part of it's just the way I live my life. I saw a touring version in Orlando. Then as soon as I moved to California, the first thing I did was my parents took me to see a sort of a staged orchestral version of West Side Story. Then when we went to New York right before the pandemic, one of the characters in this movie has played this role in the recent short-lived West Side Story revival. So we saw it again. So it's sort of like I like it, but I got a lot of it. And then if you add on Romeo and Juliet on top of that, it's just, Romeo and Juliet's still fresh in my mind. So,
right.
But, what I did find it sort of the periodness of it, which is obviously periodness now, not so much back then, really grabbed me. When we saw a first look someplace, I don't know if it was a shareholder meeting or what have you. And, it's very visually striking, very Spielberg. And so I'm curious to see what his fingerprints are on it.
Mm-hmm. Is this one of the first that he's done that's, I mean, musical? That's a very different kind of genre. I know that music plays an obvious. He's obviously somebody who understands musicality and the importance of music and the role music plays in movies, because all of his films are known for their music.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see that element of his filmmaking realized. So
yeah, I mean, obviously he's used music in the like what American Tail. Not that he directed that, but but in terms of a full sort of not Busby Berkeley, but full sort of MGM style musical. I don't think he's put his fingers or his toes into that water yet, but I'm excited to see what he does, because it's nice when Spielberg does something different. Every once in a while he makes like another E.T. kind of film, like warm, heartwarming PG family film, and that's great. I mean, everyone loves comfort food, but when he does something different, Schindler's List or 1941 might not be a great example, but you get something new and different, and that's great. And I mean, such a prolific director too, that it's funny. I was thinking of how many films like a Disney animation director will get to make in their life, and it's not that many. I mean, by the time they get to that prominence, and then a movie takes 4 years, let's say, and then then you got to start over and think they're only going to make a handful before either it's time for them to go, or it's so someone like him who's able to create such a body of the work, where most of his films are successful critically and by audiences, is impressive. So it's nice to have him at Disney. He did the BFG for Disney, obviously, but it's nice to have him kind of make one more for a man who in many ways he just oozes the Disney sentimentality, maybe to a fault, that it's nice to have him sort of in the family whenever you can.
Yes.
Next is Ms. Marvel, and this one's actually filming. So they were able to it's not a trailer, but we were able to get a little sneak peek. So here you go.
Ms. Marvel is a new kind of superhero. But at the core of all of it, her story is so universal.
Ms. Marvel is one of the newer characters in the Marvel comics. And when one comes in that grabs the world's imagination like this, the questions are, when are we going to bring Ms. Marvel to the screen?
When Ms. Marvel first came out, we had such an incredible reaction.
It was so incredibly popular because everybody could see themselves in her.
I never saw a young teenager of color, specifically a Pakistani, in a comic book. Are you kidding?
You promised you'd be cool. I am cool. The casting process was vast. When we discovered Iman, we knew that she was Kamala Khan.
It was unanimous decision.
Yeah, I can't comprehend this right now. And then, of course, we've got a really incredible team of directors: Bilal Fallah, Adel Al-Arabi, Mira Menon, and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. And all of them are taking the material and elevating it.
So human. It's about a teenager figuring out who she is and about relationships. Family and friendship is at the heart of the MCU canon. That's what's so exciting about the story that we're bringing, is that we're going to introduce you to a new family that's also going to be part of the wider MCU.
So this is a neat one, just in terms of the path it took. I don't know if you got a chance to see Marvel 616, but the episode that discussed this. But Ms. Marvel was created when Stephen Wacker, an editor at the time, now he's some big shot, was talking to one of his other editors, and she talked about her experience of being a comic book fan while growing up in a Pakistani American household, where she wasn't allowed to date, and kind of create a character for them, create a character for the fangirl and the fanboy out there. So Kamala Khan writes fan fiction, which, if you keep in mind, in the MCU, fan fiction is like celebrity fan fiction, because these are real people, right? It's not what we think of fan fiction, but she's fan of the Avengers. Like, I think everyone would be if you lived in a world with the Avengers. But and so, she's a huge fan of Captain Marvel, gets superpowers, and takes on the identity of Ms. Marvel. Now, this film introduces us to Ms. Marvel, who will appear in the second Captain America film. Second Captain Marvel film, kind of tying it all together. But this is what if you were a 15-year-old girl or fan who suddenly got superpowers, and you looked up to these heroes, and now you have the chance to be one. So it's a great story, great, just totally different, and not just from the background, but just you're not talking about someone who grew up with powers, was destined to be king like T'Challa, or got super soldier serum, and in the 40s, Captain America. You're talking about someone who is just on the ground, and then one day, in many ways, kind of evokes the classic Spider-Man story, but with the added level of being so reverential to the hero she's trying to emulate.
My sister-in-law is an enormous fan of Ms. Marvel, and so there is a great deal of anticipation in that household for Ms. Marvel. And as always, with a title like this, where there was where the character connected so powerfully with the audience, there's a challenging bar there, because you're it's like you bring the written word, even like the comic, there's a certain place that you've jumped to in your own head, and so then to have that realized on screen, it'll be interesting to see how the fan base reacts to the realization on screen. Will it be all that they created in their mind as they read the comic?
Well, and what's interesting too on this one is it's very rare for a creator, for a movie or TV show, to come so quickly after the character's created. Obviously Iron Man, Stan Lee, and all those guys were a while ago. This is a fairly new character, so you're able to get the original creative team of the comic book is still working in comic books. So you're able to really pick their brain at what makes a character tick, and you don't have to switch it up as much, to make it relevant to a modern audience, because it's a modern character. Iron Man at the Vietnam War probably didn't make as much sense when Iron Man was released. Next is Hawkeye. Clint Barton, who we know from the Marvel, Avengers films, takes on his Padawan of Kate Bishop. It seems to be the headline. Obviously, we don't have a lot yet. Seems to be based a lot about the Matt Fraction run, which is sort of I don't want to say down on your luck, but just sort of an older superhero, just kind of trying to make ends meet. Not a great comic book if you're like a super neat OCD type person, because he doesn't live in the greatest conditions. Pizza Rat is a major character in the comic book. So not for neat freaks, but you're talking about a superhero who's not superpowered, just very skilled. Went through tragedy, with the events of Avengers Endgame. Infinity War. Things seem to kind of cycle back after Endgame, but we'll see where they take it. It's always hard to go home again, as they say. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. There's so many different variations of Hawkeye. I'm curious to see which route they take, or what influences kind of create their own path. Okay, here's your franchise, Rebecca. Here it is.
Okay, but the funny thing about this is the Book of Boba Fett. Okay, so I love Star Wars, but I'm not good with a lot of like ickiness. So like Return of the Jedi kind of pushed my ickiness level, and I'm hopeful in some ways for the sake of the bounty hunter fan that maybe this one isn't a comfortable series for me. Like I have to watch a lot of it, like eyes covered, or periodically eyes covered or whatever. Because of Boba Fett and his legacy and the way that it was set up, in the final moments of The Mandalorian, where you see, they walk in and just assassinate Bib Fortuna, and then start sitting on his throne, chugging whatever electric blue alcoholic drink it was. It like I say, it feels like it's a little bit more gritty, a little bit more, kind of dirty than we typically have our Star Wars.
I want to say, though, if you want a career in Star Wars, a great piece of advice is to be inducted as a Disney legend the same time Jon Favreau is being inducted as a Disney legend. Because not only did Wing Chao appear in The Mandalorian, but Ming-Na Wen, who was inducted as a Disney legend at the same time, appears as Fennec Shand in this after appearing in The Mandalorian. So we're talking about a woman who finished her run at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., didn't appear in a couple episodes because she got to go to China to film her cameo for Mulan's live action adaptation, and now she's in the book in Star Wars. All she needs to do is make a Pixar movie and maybe like some narrate a Nat Geo thing, and she's like got all of them down.
Are we sure she hasn't yet done a narration?
No, we're not sure. But if you get to watch the Disney Gallery for Mando, Robert Rodriguez, who directed the episode of The Mandalorian that reintroduced Boba Fett, made an animatic using action figures because of the pandemic, and it's just great to see fans be fans, and he was sort of apologetic at the crudeness of it, and he goes, and Dave Filoni goes like, no, you don't understand. That makes it the coolest animatic ever. And
can I want to pat myself on the back just the tiniest bit, because watching that sequence made me so very happy, because when we were talking about that episode on Mando Monday, I told our Mike Celestino, I said, I loved this episode because it took me back to my childhood, and I felt like I had stumbled on my friends and they had dumped out their toys out in the backyard, and I was just watching the story that they had created with their figures, because they had Boba Fett and they had the stormtroopers, and I felt like I had just stumbled on them, telling this next chapter of the story. And so then to hear Rodriguez saying that is like in some ways exactly what it was, I was like, woohoo! It just made me so very, very happy. So yeah, because that's exactly how it felt, and I'm very glad that, like you say, there's a love and a passion. And Ming-Na's tweets to Mark Hamill, and the love fest between them. I'm enjoying the fact that these people get that it's a cool job. It's a fun gig. It's not. We know it's tough work. We know that. But dude, we want to believe it's fun too.
I like Star Wars. I'm more of a Marvel versus Star Wars, but I like going to see Star Wars movies. I watch every episode of Mandalorian religiously. But in a time when that fandom seems so divided, it's nice to see people still having fun with it, because that's what it's about in the end, right? It's not all that important if you're not having fun with it. I was just watching. We watched the first episode of the new ABC game show, The Chase, and Ken Jennings drops his opinion of The Last Jedi in it, and you're like, here we go again. I'm not gonna say if he liked it or not, but he definitely shared his opinion, and it's supposed to be fun. I mean, and going back to Mandalorian, I know we're talking about Fett, but seeing them trying to debate whether they should throw in a McClunky in the first episode of season 2 that's what it's supposed to be fun.
Well, like I think I was telling you the other day, I think people forget sometimes that the word fan is short for fanatic. So, I mean, this isn't going to be a rational. There's going to be a point where it's not going to be a rational discussion. So,
right.
Acknowledge that some people will like it, some people won't, and stop demanding people's fan cards if they disagree with you.
Right. Well, I'm all for the fun, crazy debate of things that don't matter. As long as you don't get that upset and realize it doesn't matter. Just in the end, just do your thing. You can have fun, but then in the end, you should all be smiling because it's Star Wars.
Oh, I wish I could pull out of my hat right now the thing that I know I could say that would push you, and you'd be you would want to demand my fan card, but you couldn't. But it's not. but it's not. Oh, there you go. Jungle Cruise is the greatest attraction.
I disagree, but I'm not saying I'm not a Disney fan.
But it's just, it's one of those things where one person's treasure is another person's skip it.
And finally, so Boba Fett comes out December 2021 as the much publicized tag on Mando season 2 revealed. The Bad Batch, the continuation of the Clone Wars, comes out in that very specific time frame of 2021. So I don't know if it's February. I don't know if it's December 29th, but it's coming out in 2021. And here is a sneak peek.
They call themselves the Bad Batch.
The Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire!
That was quite an impressive display.
So I feel like everyone has a complicated relationship with the Clone Wars. I'm excited that you have that scale of animation, but centered around a group of characters that I can get to know and not jump around the entire galaxy engaging in politics. I felt that was the biggest challenge for me with the Clone Wars. It was just too big for me to, as a casual Star Wars fan, to really know what was happening, and it jumped time periods, and when StarWars.com has to release an actual viewing order for you instead of just watching episode 1 through whatever, probably overcomplicating how to watch TV. But so I'm excited to kind of get to have Star Wars animation done at an epic scale, but focused on a little bit more refined in terms of what it's trying to do.
I'm very excited. I'm hoping that this will kind of have a bit of I want to say kind of an A-team kind of sense to it. I enjoy, as I've said before, I enjoy films where you have this camaraderie as one of the major components of it, and this seems like it should have that. Now, I got distracted for a moment. Thrawn did appear, right? We did see Thrawn, so it's got Thrawn, it's got droids, so I'm happy. So that'll be good. I'm excited.
And I pity the clone. I ain't getting on no starship.
It would be funny if one of them didn't like to fly, wouldn't it? But no, the Bad Batch was a great story arc that we got a taste of during Clone Wars, and so I am eager to see kind of their continuing adventures.
So that's 21. Do you have a favorite?
I am most. My husband's over here chanting more. I am most looking forward to Encanto and Death on the Nile, which is a very odd thing as a Disney fan to be saying. It just to me demonstrates kind of the breadth of what it now means to try and consume all things Disney.
Yeah, it's if I had to say one project across everything, including stuff we didn't talk about, it'd be WandaVision, which comes out in 2 weeks. So that's a great way to ruin my 2021. But beyond that, it's really hard for me, as I talked about before, because I picked a lot of these things as being excited for last year. And, there's virtually, outside of a couple Marvel film, shows, stuff that we weren't planning on getting last year. So, but I think my most anticipated is Legend of the Ten Rings, because I'm really curious to see how they course correct. Maybe that might not even be a fair term, but how they bring that sort of concept back. I think we're all kind of excited about that prospect. And I'm not going to talk about, whether they made the right decision or wrong decision, but it's nice to have that kind of, maybe it was, like there's more than it seemed kind of thing. I'm looking forward to that kind of reveal.
Yeah.
So, we at Laughing Place are just trying to catch our breath.
Yeah, we had a lot.
Tomorrow morning, Jeremiah is going to be at Kennedy Space Center covering their new experience. Then at 9 a.m., Mike is going to be covering the High Republic launch event, and then gearing up for that launch on Tuesday with the comic book coming out on Wednesday. Then we're going to be back in the park. Jeremiah will be at Disney Springs and Magic Kingdom throughout the week, and situation permitting, Mike will be at Downtown Disney and Universal City Walk. So we got a lot to get through, a lot to get to, and we hope you'll join us. You can see some of our upcoming shows tomorrow at 4 p.m. We got Parks Talk with Rebecca, Doobie, Jeremiah, and Mike. Then Movie Club at 7:30 with Horton Hears a Who. At 9 a.m. on Tuesday, Jeremiah will be at Magic Kingdom, and at 11, Mike will be at Downtown Disney with 4 p.m. Barely Necessities. And you guys there's a lot of neat merchandise coming out.
A lot of really neat merchandise has made its way, so I'm excited to talk about it with Becca.
And then we'll wrap it up on Tuesday with Disney Trivia Live with Doobie and Gideon.
Yep.
So, what was your highlight from last week?
Oh, let's see. So last week, I think it was the sneak peek that I got of The Rookie that debuts shortly or right now at this very moment. Season 3 of The Rookie. They left us kind of on the edge of our seats with a cliffhanger last season. Nolan, the lead, the Boy Scout, always doing the right thing guy, framed, and you wonder how is he going to get out of this mess. And so it was. I enjoyed where the episode went. I'm excited for the groundwork that they've laid moving forward. Some of the relationships that we'd seen evolving last season, we see that kind of continue to develop. And I'm excited about where they're going to go this season based upon the first episode.
My highlight was 10 new episodes of Earth to Ned. I feel like that show is flying under people's radar, and I don't want it to. I've seen 4 of the 10, or maybe 5 of the 10, and it gets better as time goes on. If you watch the first couple and it wasn't really feeling it, give it some time. They seem to get their groove going. You don't even have to really watch in order. It's just a talk show, but watching Kevin Smith trying to explain the 90s to Ned. Whereas Kevin Smith just says, "Yeah, that was a great era. That was when I was relevant before I was a has-been." To the award show that ran long, and they ended up having to apologize to The Mandalorian for going too long in their time slot. So it's just a lot of fun. A lot very Jim Henson-y. I mean, because it's from Jim Henson's productions, but it's just funny, and you like funny.
Well, this week I am looking forward to tomorrow. January 4th, the Levitard show that has been one of my favorite ESPN go-to shows is leaving the 5th. So the 4th is its final ESPN show. I anticipate it being rather irreverent. I anticipate it being a lot of fun, and so I am eager to have that lot of laughter, I'm sure. And sadly, they won't be celebrating Miami's win because that didn't happen today. So
I listen to I have just various ESPN podcasts that download, and I don't listen all the time, but Sarah Spain's podcast was a tribute to the Dan Le Batard show, and I'll be honest, Dan Le Batard shows on during the day. I don't get to watch it all that often, but seeing how much it meant to their fellow employees at ESPN, it's one thing to have a great show leave, but it's harder to have a great colleague leave, and you don't necessarily know by watching on television who's a nice person. Sometimes jerks do that as part of the shtick, but they're really nice. Sometimes really nice people are really jerks.
Right.
In fact, I heard Pat Sajak did a podcast with Dan Le Batard where he basically talked about that. He's like, I can't tell you who they are, but we all know who they are. And obviously that show has grown beyond ESPN, and I can see that this is a great opportunity for Dan to spread his wings a little bit, but it's sad to see people hurt. Not that they're not going to be friends anymore, but it's not the same when you work, when you fly down to do a week of shows because you're part of the family, and and especially one of my big frustrations with the ESPN conversation is we spend a lot of time talking about the parts of ESPN that nobody watches, which is the middle of the day, not giving any attention to the prime time when people are home to watch it. But its irreverent self, it made there be a reason to watch sports talk, or what if you would call Dan Le Batard sports talk, when there's no sports going on, and that's a challenge, I think, especially when it comes to broadcasting. So
I am forever of the opinion that they made a mistake when they moved him to an earlier time slot, because I felt like he was magnificent when he was kind of that drive time late in the day slot, because you had got in the beginning, you'd have Mike and Mike who would just kind of coffee talk their way through what had happened overnight in the world of sports, right? Kind of catch you up on any games maybe you turned off before you went to bed, or if some transaction had happened in the early morning hours, they would handle that. And then you would have a deeper dive with SVP and Rosillo and Colin Cowherd. Those shows would kind of really nitty gritty and discuss things in detail. And so by the time you got to Dan, pretty much anything that could be said had be said multiple times by numerous people, and he would just mock it all. And so it was a really fun. I found it a really neat way, and sometimes he would get me to pay attention to individual voices that I might not have before, because he would talk about what they had said, and I was like, oh, and I would go check them out. So
it kind of reminds me of Steve Martin, where he deconstructed the format, where Steve Martin just mocked stand-up comedy. Dan Le Batard mocked sports talk.
The sports
and I gotta say, on sort of a tangential note, Mike Golick Sr. was doing analyst stuff, and I was listening to him in the Orange Bowl, and he's a really great analyst. Like, he's a great broadcaster, not just morning talk show. And I'm sad we're not going to, who knows what will happen, but I think that's a loss. He's perhaps one of the best analysts I think ESPN has.
He makes listening to the game really interesting. And he gets passionate about it too, which is fun. Like when there was the fumble, you could hear his you could feel that he remembered that moment, how that moment felt. I love that. So yeah, I'm very, very, very sad to see Mike Golick Sr.
And no more bounty bowl talk.
I know.
What I'm looking most forward to, I'm going to cheat. I already got to see the screeners, but there's some great game shows coming to ABC on Thursday. So Monday night they're going to preview The Hustler, which is
that good?
It's good. It's
I love Ferguson.
It's interesting because basically it's one person knows the answers, but if he is able to make it so that people don't realize he knows all the answers, he gets all the money, and if not, the remaining contestants get the money. And it's just interesting. It's almost like the people that are first playing it aren't going to get the strategy right because it's a new game show and like you haven't seen it play out. But it's really interesting to watch. First of all, trying to guess who the hustler is, in addition to just normal quiz, answer the question kind of stuff. And then it's got a really sort of like, I would say, Clue inspired set, which is fun. But And then there's also The Chase, which is based off a UK format, where the 3 greatest of all time from Jeopardy are basically going head to head with regular contestants, and they're trying to chase them down the prize money. And you realize how smart these people are. But what's funny is that you go one-on-one with the chasers. So like the episode we saw had Ken Jennings as a chaser, but then the other 2 are in like a chaser lounge where they're providing commentary as to what's happening. So they'll mock Ken Jennings, they'll mock the contestant, they'll be like, how do you not know that? Ken Jennings is too old. He should know that. This is why you can't have old people. And it just adds that extra layer of fun. And then the final one, which I think is actually the 8 o'clock show, Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. And it's just Wheel of Fortune. It's 2 games of Wheel of Fortune put together. The same 3 celebrities play 2 games. But the one that we saw was Tony Hawk, the skateboarder, Chandra Wilson from Grey's Anatomy, and Leslie Jones from Supermarket Sweep is another thing. And Leslie Jones has been watching, I think, Wheel of Fortune since she was in utero. So she's providing all the her analysis. She's overthinking the whole thing. She wants to win. This is not like Celebrity Jeopardy. This is hardcore Wheel of Fortune, but it's still so just Pat, Vanna. They do Mike Vanna, which I don't think they do on the normal show. So she adds in a little bit of thing. It's also interesting that the celebrities, when you watch normally, they're like, "Can I have a C?" But here they go, "May I please have a C? Pretty please." Like they're very courteous, more courteous than a normal Wheel of Fortune contestant. I don't know why, but it's just kind of like how when they did the Jeopardy tournament, it was just classic Jeopardy. It's classic Wheel of Fortune, just with celebrities. But because because it's an hour, so you get to know them and see how they play, and they add in a few little sort of extra. They get rid of some of the extra silly stuff in Wheel of Fortune, like the prize puzzles and stuff. So it's a little bit more sort of classic Wheel of Fortune. It's a lot of fun too.
Me too, Jeffrey.
Gonna get that ceramic Dalmatian, huh?
Yep, ceramic Dalmatian and the service merchandise gift certificate. Tony Hawk. I'm sorry, but I got distracted with Tony Hawk. I don't know. I follow Tony Hawk on social media every now and again. I don't know why, but he pops up in my feed. I don't know who I follow who causes him to pop up in my feed. But no, okay. So there's this thing with Tony Hawk. He never gets recognized. I don't know if you're familiar with this reality of his life, but he tweeted the other day, at a COVID testing site, we're wearing masks, handing over the paperwork for me and my 2 kids. The woman looks over the paperwork. Okay, Anthony, Keegan, Cadence, Hawk. Oh, are you guys related to Tony Hawk? Me answers, yes. She says, are you pulling my leg? I respond, no, we are all directly related to it. and then they just get directed on to the next step in the process. She doesn't connect Anthony with Tony. So yeah. So
in the Wheel of Fortune episode, he says the celebrity he gets recognized for sometimes is Bill Nye the Science Guy.
So good.
And so he's like kind of meek, and Leslie Jones is like, no, he's great. I love Bill Nye. Leslie Jones is a lot, but you got to appreciate her passion.
Oh, I have been really enjoying Supermarket Sweep. Did you see the episode where they slammed in like pushing the cart that totally took out the other contestant? And then they made sure to give us like multiple angles.
And I love when they do poorly, because she's like, she knows the whole strategy. She's a very smart woman. And so she's watching it and she goes like, why are you not doing this well? This is bad. You're not doing a good job. She gets very like in it. Like she's really frustrated.
Very invested in their success.
Yeah. And she's just like that when she was playing Wheel of Fortune. She was like, you think, first of all, it's not like they're getting the money, right? I mean, not that charity is not, but she was playing to, this is her chance to be on Wheel of Fortune. And she talked about how she, they used to do postcards to be a contestant. You would send in a postcard. And I guess she sent so many that they sent a letter back saying, we get it.
Oh,
and then,
funny.
So she had the letter framed and would show people that she would go like, Wheel of Fortune gets me.
Oh man! Oh, that'll be fun. We'll have to check that out because like I say, we've been enjoying her on Supermarket Sweep. Although I will admit that we've been tuning in quite a bit to the competitor because we've been enjoying Jane Lynch on The Weakest Link.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Game shows are coming back.
I'm happy. I'm happy about that. I like game shows.
Me
They're
too.
fun.
Especially
They're fun.
now. I'm tired of heavy dramas. I'm ready for just giveaways. As she says, and Pat Sajak asked her what she felt. She goes like, "I love giving away other people's money," and he goes like, "Yeah, it's great, isn't it?"
Oh, we're very happy to hear that, Gio. That's what we're here for, Jeffrey. Sounds like I have more to set on my DVR. Almost forgot about those coming soon. Hey, we'll do our best to make sure you don't forget what Disney's bringing to you.
And Alex has a review of The Hustlers up. He'll review the other two. I don't know how he reveals Wheel of Fortune. I mean, it's Wheel of Fortune, but and check out Rebecca's great analysis of tonight's episode of The Rookie too. So
thanks.
So that's our show. We will be back next week with LP In Depth. We'll have Mac on at noon because he already had tickets to go see Black Panther at the Dr. Phillips Center. But he'll be fresh out of the WandaVision press conference. And he's going to tell us a little bit about Wanda Maximoff and Vision and kind of their history and why we should care.
Very cool. Awesome. I'll need to tune into that because this is a new product for me. So I'm learning more and more each week from you and Mac. So.
And we are 12 days away from WandaVision. 12 days. Now I'm already starting to think, do I do the stay up all night and watch it, or do I wake up early?
Oh, see, that's a whole other discussion we need to have someday on Laughing Place about how I wish that they would adjust what time they drop their stuff to make it easier to have a communal enjoyment of it, and spoilers and all that. It's kind of like either you make the choice to be available at that time or suffer the consequences. But dropping it at midnight makes it a little bit more challenging to feel that way.
It also seems completely just lazy. Like no thought went into what time they're doing it. It's like, well, midnight. Like there's no strategy behind that because it's not the time that's good for nobody.
We should have done before Alex watched the shows. We should have done wagers on what celebrity we thought would do the best. Like look at the lineup and be like, who do we think is going to do the best on Wheel of Fortune?
There's I will tell you this. There are 2 people that are great and 1 person that's not so great.
Okay.
It is very clear. You don't have to watch long to see who the great players are and who are not. And there's an extra wrinkle too. So they add extra money if you get the puzzle because it's charity. Mm-hmm. But so you don't even have to spin the wheel to win money, right? Because let's say you get $5,000 for the opening puzzle. If it gets to you and you know the answer, you might as well solve it, even if you have no money, because then you'll get at least the $5,000.
Oh, right.
So that plays a fun role in this strategy.
Oh, very good. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, well there you go.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there. Watch a lot of game shows on ABC. Watch Earth to Ned on Disney Plus.
I will see everyone tomorrow at 4 p.m. to talk Disney parks news and information.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There might be a lot coming. That Monday after New Year's, that's sort of their day to kind of.
Well, we get to talk a lot about park hopping because we have some who have already tried that. So we'll get to talk about what East Coast park hopping. So yeah.
East Coast park hopping, the benefit that probably isn't worth it. Anyway, it's not like Disneyland. Like we just go across. Like if I'm going to invest an hour, first of all, the short park hours, what do you really get out of park hopping? But anyway, for another day. Bye, everybody.